The first white woman in America to be sentenced to death was a charming, popular restaurateur named Anjette Lyles. However, behind the angelic beauty lies a cold-blooded murderer. According to Ranker, although initially loved by many people in Macon, Georgia, doubts gradually arose when Anjette Lyles' family members began to mysteriously die due to incurable diseases. When they learned that Lyles had poisoned his relatives with pesticides during the 1950s, the Macon community was shocked and outraged. The public was even more upset when they learned that Anjette's daughter was one of the 4 victims. Although sentenced to death, Anjette Lyles died in a mental institution. However, the haunting nature of this woman's deaths still lingers in Macon and across the United States. It's shocking to think that a friendly, everyday neighbor could be the mastermind behind 4 tragic deaths. Mysterious deaths follow one another. Ben Lyles, owner of a family restaurant in Macon, began falling ill in 1951, just 3 years after marrying Anjette Donovan. Ben's symptoms included fatigue, nausea, and stomach pain. Doctors were confused because they could not find the cause of the disease. On January 25, 1952, Ben died of a mysterious illness. Anjette Lyles' first murder motive may have been marital problems. She often fights with her husband, and this may be the reason Anjette poisoned her partner. This woman's plan seemed to backfire because Ben sold the restaurant due to difficulties. Anjette originally thought that the restaurant would belong to her after her husband passed away, so the sale of the business shocked her. Although it took years of work, Anjette eventually bought the restaurant with the money she earned as a waitress after Ben passed away. After becoming owner, Anjette changed the restaurant's name from Lyles to her own name. Anjette no longer received the love of the people of Macon after the death of her second husband. She remarried in 1955 to pilot Joe Neil Gabbert, who also died under mysterious circumstances. After undergoing a minor surgery on his wrist, Neil developed a rash fever and died shortly afterward. After the death of her first husband, Anjette's neighbors still showed sympathy for the charming and charismatic woman serving at the restaurant. However, after her second husband passed away, Anjette's strange behavior raised eyebrows in Macon. Anjette used Gabbert's insurance money to buy a house and a new car. Just a few months after becoming a widow for the second time, this woman started dating another pilot. Not only did Anjette poison her 2 husbands, she also poisoned her first husband's mother and forced her to leave a will. Mrs. Julia Lyles, Ben Lyles' mother, moved to live with Anjette shortly after her second husband passed away. Anjette plays the role of a dutiful daughter-in-law, but the reality seems to be different. In August 1957, Julia was sick, and Anjette often brought food and drinks, most likely poisoned, to her mother-in-law. In September, Mrs. Julia Lyles passed away, and soon after, Anjette quickly forged a will, in which Mrs. Julia left her daughter-in-law most of her savings. Anjette and Ben Lyles have a daughter, Marcia, but she often shows hatred towards her and has repeatedly threatened to kill the child. In 1958, when Marcia was hospitalized, people in Macomb became even more suspicious of Anjette. When Marcia finally died of kidney failure at age 9, Anjette remained indifferent. An anonymous letter sent by an employee at Anjette's restaurant helped justice be served. This employee said that Anjette's maid said that when she cleaned the house, she found poison scattered everywhere. Anjette said it was insecticide at the restaurant, but the restaurant was not threatened by any harmful insects. Along with Anjette's strange behavior, the above employee informed the authorities, and, based on clues, the investigation agency discovered that Marcia's body had traces of poisoning. In the eyes of the people of Macon, Anjette is a charming, friendly woman who is generally loved by the community. Initially, when she worked as a waitress in her husband's restaurant, which she later owned, customers found her charismatic and kind. However, no one could have imagined that Anjette would eventually become known throughout the country as a cold-blooded murderer. According to friends and family, Anjette Lyles displayed a strange passion for the occult and witchcraft. Anjette regularly visits fortune tellers for advice. The police report said she also kept items in the house for black magic and other rituals, such as roots, powders, and poisons. Anjette lights candles in a ritual to influence the fate of others, and even does so in a restaurant. The black candles are the most terrifying because she lights them to bring death to her enemies. In 1958, a jury found Anjette guilty of murder and sentenced her to death, making her the first white woman to be executed in the state of Georgia. However, soon after, Anjette was found to be insane and was sent to a mental institution instead of prison. In 1977, Angelic Lyles died of a heart attack at the age of 52.